Hey, buddy boy, you've got to get that compass straightened out.
Me?
Why, yes, of course, you. Don't you want to do episode 7 of Roast Your Kit?
I mean, yeah, I guess we can.
The show's all yours, so you might as well get a move on.
Golly, you mean we're already on episode 7?
A big one. Pre-2000s kits only.
Only the oldies. All right, I guess we'll get to it. Hey guys, welcome back to The.Gear.Locker and welcome to episode 7 of Roast Your Kit. This was a very special episode because it is one that I'm really looking forward to, and it's all the old kits. Pre-2000 stuff coming right to you from you guys, the submitters. If you needed a reminder on how this works, you send your kits to me either via email or Instagram DM. I take a look at them, share them here on the channel, and we all have some fun roasting them and showing off some really cool stuff, and today is no exception. As always, stick to the very end to find out not only my favorite kit, but when and how to get yours in the next special episode. Because next time, it's not a standard one either. We're doing another specialty one, so stay tuned. But let us waste no time with a kit coming from Namsoft 68, and this is his generic US Army Vietnam War impression. And while there was so much variety in the kits throughout the Vietnam War, coming up with a generic US Army impression isn't a bad thing. A lot of units followed many of the same SOPs. So let's take a look at some of the details that Namsoft 68 has here. As we pull up his kit, we see a standard US Infantry impression. We have an M16A1, we have a full set of M56 web gear, and a bandolier with magazines strung across his chest. The uniform looks great, M1 pot helmet looks great. I would say there's only 2 things that I would personally probably change, as well as one of them for historical accuracy. We'll start with that one, and that's going to be that angle head flashlight. That one is a post-war variant with the side guards around the main switch. So I would swap that out and or definitely hide it. For events if you need it, which I highly recommend you have them at events, that's probably going to be something that you want to stow away. But otherwise, the only other thing I'd change is how you run that bandolier. Right now, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but it looks like it's tucked underneath the webbing. I'd probably pull that out so you can take that off quickly. I know it flops around a whole lot, but if you stuff some cardboard in those, you can keep those mags a lot more secure. You don't have to worry about everything jumping and everything falling out. Just a little tip that I found to keep those secure while still being period correct in running them. But let's take a look at some of the reference photos, and as you can see, the iconic details are still here. You have that classic jungle top that you can see in both of these photos, the Mitchell pattern on the helmet cover with that nice OD band. Hopefully those don't have the cat eyes on the back, but I'll trust you there. Overall, it's a very generic Vietnam kit, and of course there are a couple of things to improve, so I'm gonna give this one 3 fruitcakes out of 5. Oh yeah, if you weren't aware, we're changing our rating system. I've always done like 1 to 10 and everything like that. We're changing it now to the fruitcake system. You'll get up to 5 fruitcakes depending on historical accuracy, my personal opinions, as well as how you match up with the reference photos you choose. So without further ado, let's keep going, but overall, Namsoft 68, nice job. The next kit comes from MNU First RFB, and this is a Russian style kit that's from the 90s. Now there's a lot of details, and in fact he submitted 3 variants of the similar kit, so I'm gonna read through the details and show you guys the pictures on screen. They both belong to the 166th Separate Guards Motor Rifle Brigade in the spring of 1996. First one is a standard infantry, as he mentions likely from the 2nd Battalion. The generic kit list is as follows. He has an OBR 88 Afghanka, a brass soldier's belt, Soviet canteen and boots, 6B3 body armor, and an SSH 68 helmet. Although the Crazy Company has a couple other variations of things, such as the lace-up boots, the Soviet botinki, a second pattern Livchik poyas, a medical bandana, and fingerless gloves. And this kit screams 90s Russian stuff. Those classic AK pattern rifles look great on the backdrop of you in your tan gear. The picture of you in the center with that long, well, what I can imagine is an RPK magazine looks super cool, so I think you did this kit pretty darn well, just straight from the get-go. Taking a look at the reference photos, I chose one of the Crazy Company ones, and as you can see with the photos here, you match up perfectly. I love that chest rig, kind of has the leather tabs around the brass. That's just a cool look and not something that I guess I've ever really noticed or seen before. So overall, MNU, this is a super cool kit. I'm gonna give this one an easy 5 fruitcakes out of 5. Nice job. MNU wanted me to give him a shout out on his airsofting page, woodland.airsofting. So go check it out. The next kit takes us back to Vietnam with History Guide 27. And this is his Operation Thor 1968 Marine kit. He said this was a sub-operation of Operation Kentucky 2 and took place from July 1st through 6th of 68, with the unit being the Hotel Company 29 Marines. And man, I've never worked on a Marine kit, but I know some of the stuff that goes on with them, and you did this kit super well. The M55 flak I know is a tough piece to get, but you wear it perfectly. It looks like you got one that's in good condition and in your size as well. Having all of those magazine pouches as well as your JFAC hooked around kind of the belt line and including some hooked onto the flak itself is really cool, and I love the pack setup that you've got. And it looks like you have multiple ponchos on there, a poncho liner rolled up top, and your E-tool all along the center of the back. And I think it's so cool. It's a very minimalist setup compared to some of the lightweights that the Army would run more commonly. So I think you do this really well. You fit the age look too, which is a big thing that a lot of Vietnam reenactors miss, but unfortunately we cannot time travel. Taking a look at the references, and I imagine it was very tough to get very particular references, but I do see some of the same motifs here. On the bottom, you can barely see it. I kind of cut it off when I edited this together, but you do have a C-Rat stock on your kit, which is seen here. You have the bug juice bottle and your helmet band, a lot of the same notes and details. So honestly, history guy, I know how much work you put into this, just being a Vietnam reenactor myself. This is a very well done kit. Nice job. Easy 5 out of 5 fruitcakes for me. Let's keep going with the Vietnam theme, and this one comes from Markeem09. Now Markeem has put together a 4th Infantry Division Doc Toe kit from 1967, so not too far off from where we were. Now Markeem has put together a really awesomely done kit as well. Lots of details, including a very fleshed out rucksack, makes this kit stand out. He wanted me to mention that this is a P64 lightweight, and man, that color combo of the green with some of the tan webbing straps, that's my favorite. I love that stuff. So super cool that you've included it here. Very jealous of that lightweight. Mine don't look near as cool as that. He's rocking a lot of standard US Army gear, including the M56 webset, the Tropicals, as well as the standard helmet. But he did say he's rocking a World War II Jeep shovel, which is pretty cool. That thing definitely has seen some better days, and I'd love if you could restore it. I think that would be huge in making this kit just a little bit better. So let's take a look at the reference photos. Markeem, I love the vibe that you got with this kit, and I think you match it up perfectly here. So excellent job. As I'm noticing in some of these reference photos, the shovels do obviously look to be newer. So I'd love if you could, again, restore yours. Even getting that red handle like you see in that top middle photo, that would be super cool, and I think that would elevate it. Overall, Markeem, this is a great kit. I'm gonna give you a 4 fruitcakes out of 5. Nice work, and I hope to see an updated shovel in the future, as minor as that is. Now we're done with the Vietnam stuff. Let's kick it up a notch into some of the more modern era stuff. I guess as modern as you can get for being pre-2000s. And the first one I made an exception for. This one is a group submitted impression. And I know a lot of these guys personally, and I know the kits that they run personally, so I'm gonna give this one a pass and just showcase them all at once. And this comes from the Bayonet Division Living History Group. He says that this is the 1986 A Company, 13 engineers, around the time of Calfex 86, which I'm assuming is an operation, maybe a training operation, not something that I'm aware of, but that I love to see. So taking a look at these kits, this is actually at one of my home fields, Ground Zero Airsoft. So again, I know a lot of these guys personally, and I love the 80s vibe that you guys have for the kit. It looks a little bit too cold for the kit, but I still think you guys did an excellent job. So setting aside, let's take a look at what you got. I'm noticing all the standard mid-80s Alice equipment. So you got your belt, canteen covers, magazine pouches, as well as some butt packs, particularly the M56 or M61 more commonly. You guys are rocking the M16A1s, which is still period correct for that time. Although I know for other units, and I imagine for this unit as well, post 86 era, you're gonna want the A2s, but still, I know this time frame, the A1s are still good to go. Looks like you guys have some of the jump boots mixed in with the jungle boots, very cool detail, as well as that helmet scrim up top. Those rag tops are super cool looking, and it's debatable what units use them and when. So given the reference photos that you guys said you used, I imagine they're good to go as well. Let's take a dive right into those reference photos, speaking of. These guys mentioned that the photos that they used came directly from veterans, and they'd rather not spread them out on the internet. Little gatekeeping, but whatever. I understand the desire for the veterans to have some anonymity, but these basic reference photos that you've submitted of Army stuff look pretty much exactly like your kit. So I imagine based on the time frame and what the military was doing during then, you guys have nailed the impression pretty darn well. So I'm gonna take a point off for not showing me those reference photos. Send them to me privately, I'm very curious, but nice job. I'll give it a 4 out of 5 for that, just because I know you guys. We're gonna keep it in the 80s with the US Army, particularly this time the 75th Rangers during the 1989 Operation Just Cause, or Invasion of Panama. He mentions that this is a team leader impression, and he has a lot of details, so let's take a look. Forgot to mention, this comes from W and a bunch of numbers. I'm gonna read them off, but I'm not gonna refer to them as this. I'm just gonna call him W from here on out, but it is W 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 9. Clearly someone struggled to pick a username. Regardless, let's look at the kit. And I'm seeing a lot of the same details that you'll see with pretty much any generic US Army kit. You've got the rag top, you have your nice BDUs in Woodland, an M16A2, which I like, and Alice equipment. It looks like that butt pack that you're using might be a reproduction. I would strongly encourage you to get an original, especially because of the price and the availability that they're at right now. It'll just kind of pull together the back end of that impression. You do mention that you do want to get a 723 and a bayonet. I think those would also be great details to elevate this kit. So let's take a look at those reference photos, see how you match up. And here we go. Lots of awesome details here. I love that rag top, and you see it as a motif in a lot of these kit pictures. There are definitely plenty of M16A2s, so I know you mentioned you want to go for a team leader impression. Maybe it's this guy waving right in that center picture, but the A2 I think is a really cool look. Honestly, there's so many kit pieces on here that are just standard US infantry stuff that I think you managed to nail it pretty well. I would say I would love to see a rucksack in this photo. For some reason with Panama stuff, the rucksack just adds so much to the kit. And I know in some of these they're not present, but especially with that guy waving in the middle, as you can see, just having that adds so much more bulk to this kit that I think it would look cool. Personal opinion. Overall W, I think you did a great job. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 fruitcake rolls, but nice job, good work. Now this next kit almost took that first place spot for me, primarily because when he sent in some of his photos, I looked at the ones he sent in, and then I looked at some that he took on a period camera, and I thought those were the references. He did that good with it. So let's dive into the Nozam Alice kit, which is the 3/505th PIR in the house of the Panamanian dictator Manuel Noriega, December 23rd, 1989. Another Just Cause kit. And damn, did he nail it. Look at these photos. This is thoroughly impressive. I loved it. He's got the Pasget helmet, or the K-pot as it's lovingly known, with lots of details, including some first pattern pieces, and his cat eye band dummy corded to the top. He's wearing the first pattern hot weather BDU set, which are really cool to find and a detail a lot of reenactors or airsoft kit makers tend to overlook. His uniform has tons of details on it, but one of my favorites being that glint tape you have wrapped around your arm. Shows very well in photos. He's rocking LC1 and LC2 equipment all over and is also using an M16A2. The vibes on this kit are immaculate. It's way past Christmas, but brings me back to the spirit. Nozam Alice, you killed this kit. Let's double check how you matched up with the references. And without a doubt, you even decorated your tree pretty similarly. This was incredibly done. This is such an easy 5 out of 5 fruitcake rolls that I almost want to give it a 6, but we'll keep it out of the 5. Now the next kit comes all the way from the UK. This kit comes from someone that runs the Facebook page called Zvezda Airsoft, and on Instagram, he's called Aldramelek. And this is his 45th VDV ORP, Vidensky District, Chechnya kit from 1999. So he's barely pushing that 2000s cutoff. Here he's got a Gorka 1 jacket and M88 VSR uniform, a Chechenka hat, a Kosinka, which I have no idea what half of this stuff is, but let's keep reading. A Splav M22 LBV, an early Gen 1, different things like hatch knee pads, Soviet gloves, an RD54 pack, an R392 radio, and some of my favorite parts of this kit include the bayonet, the NSP smoke signal, RDG5 grenades, and dressings and tourniquet, as well as the AKM with a PBS-1. Aldramelek, you killed this kit. I am not always a fan of Russian stuff, but for some reason, the Soviet kit that you put together with all of the details that you've got on there looks very thought out and very well done. So let's take a look at the reference photos. And obviously the references, being so old, are a little bit harder to see, a little pixelated, but all of the detail notes that you've got, you can see here. Something I noticed in your kit that I don't notice in the other ones is that hat, and I'm sure it was worn, but I think the hat looks cool. I'm just curious if it's in any reference photos. The gaiters are a really cool detail. Those pants matched with a tan top is super neat. I just think you did it very well overall, so easy 5 out of 5 fruitcakes for this one too. And before we get to the last kit of this episode, my absolute favorite, let's talk about how you can get yours in the special episode, episode 8. Now, as you may know, 8 is a lucky number in China. And what do airsofters love? But gear that's made in China. So, as a tribute to the airsofters with lucky number 8, episode 8 is gonna be any and all airsoft kits. You don't need reference photos for this one. We're gonna jump right back to that during episode 9. So if you've got a detailed one-to-one kit, maybe save that, but I wanna see everything you guys have come up with. It's gonna be rapid fire, hardcore roasting if you remember the last airsoft episode we did, and I'm super excited for it. But you do have a deadline. You have to get these kits to me by April 2nd. No exceptions. Send them to me either on Instagram at The.Gear.Locker or my email, which is linked down below. No kit list required unless you have things you want me to point out. Any airsoft kit goes, and we'll see you guys there. And now let's jump to my favorite kit that was submitted for episode 7 of Roast Your Kit. And this is a guy who kind of re-sparked my interest in 80s and 90s equipment with this kit particularly, so I'm super glad he sent it in. This is, coming from SEAL Agent, a 75th Ranger JCT Squad Leader kit from 1985. And this kit is the perfect fusion of really old stuff from the Vietnam conflict to stuff that you'll see even into the 90s. As I often say, the vibes are immaculate. So let's take a look at what he's got. He's got the jungle fatigues, top and bottom, and he's running Alice equipment. A mix of LC1 and LC2, I'm sure. However, his electronics really make this kit. Not only do you see the very bright Motorola MX300 series radio, can't tell exactly which one that is, but I have a 350 and it looks identical, so it might be the same, as well as the PVS-5s hanging around his neck. To have something that old and rare just hanging around a kit is so cool. He's rocking what I believe to be an MP5 SD3, a large accoutrement of pouches, and an SDU 5E strobe. In the grand scheme of things, this kit is pretty simple, but put together effectively on a guy who looks the part, aside from, the missing face, which, if you notice the thumbnail, thought it would be kind of funny. It's just super well done, and I love it. So let's take a look at those reference photos. And I would expect absolutely nothing less, but this is a perfect kit. Almost a one-to-one. As you can see with the guy in the center, he's got those PVS-5s hanging around his neck. He's got the big radio, which you can better see in the next reference photo. All classic pieces, including that bulky headset. He crushed this kit, and I absolutely love it. Again, it's simple, but it combines so many awesome notes from kits from the 60s, 70s, all the way through the 90s. SEAL Agent, a very well-deserved win for episode 7 of Roast Your Kit. Thank you so much for sending it in, and thank you for getting me back into the 80s and 90s stuff. It's been an expensive journey, but I'm excited to share it with you all later this year. As a reminder, if you want to get your kit in episode 8, any Airsoft kit, any Milsim kit, any real kit goes, send it in to me by April 2nd on The.Gear.Locker on Instagram, or my email, which is down below. This is The.Gear.Locker, and unfortunately, we'll see all the Airsofters there in the next one.